When a heavy steel door slides shut inside a county jail, the physical barrier of the justice system becomes absolute. While state prisons hold populations serving long-term sentences, county jails serve a very different purpose. They operate as a revolving door, housing people awaiting trial, serving minor sentences, or undergoing medical and legal processing. Because these facilities are managed by local sheriffs and county authorities, they have to navigate a difficult mathematical reality. They are legally obligated to meet strict constitutional standards of care, but must do it entirely within the finite limits of a local municipal budget. When local authorities fail to balance that budget against their legal requirements, the results are severe. Poor management leads straight to in-custody deaths, federal lawsuits, and compromised public safety. To understand why local facilities fail, we map 4 pressure points: staffing, healthcare, infrastructure, and legal risk. A breakdown in one cascades into the next, triggering a chain reaction. Once started, this loop accelerates and spins entirely out of control. The first domino to fall is almost always human capital. Jails across Colorado are facing a severe inability to recruit and retain the correctional officers required to safely run a facility. Geography restricts the labor pool. In rural areas and sparse mountain counties, public safety agencies, private employers, and neighboring towns are all competing for the exact same local workforce, leaving jails with a fraction of the applicants they need. When applicant pools dry up and staffing levels drop, administrators have to keep the building running. They do this by leaning heavily on forced overtime, requiring the remaining employees to work back-to-back shifts. Relying on overtime sets off a secondary cycle. Exhausted staff members burn out and quit, which drives turnover rates even higher. The county then has to spend more of its budget recruiting and training replacements, only for those new hires to face the exact same conditions. A jail operating with a burned-out skeleton crew is incapable of meeting its daily obligations. Every other mandate, from recreation to security, begins to slip. While the workforce shrinks, the demands on that workforce are shifting. Jails are seeing a massive surge in individuals entering custody while experiencing acute mental health, substance abuse, and medical emergencies. Many of these detainees have never received consistent treatment prior to arrest. As a result, local lockups are being forced to operate as frontline psychiatric wards and detox clinics. Managing behavioral health requires specific protocols. Facilities have to implement strict suicide prevention monitoring, coordinate continuous medication, and provide access to outside clinicians, all while maintaining building security. The intense clinical requirements of treating a patient in crisis clash directly with the reality on the floor. These duties fall onto the shoulders of the same exhausted, non-medical correctional staff we saw struggling just to cover basic shifts. Assigning complex healthcare mandates to non-medical holding facilities guarantees systematic failure and massive liability. The buildings themselves often make the job harder. Older facilities were built for a different era of detention, and their outdated architecture, specifically cramped spaces and poor sightlines, acts as a physical roadblock to modern care. One of the most important daily tasks in a jail is classification, the mandatory process of separating inmates based on their security risk, legal status, and specific medical needs. When a facility is overcrowded and lacks specialized housing units, keeping vulnerable populations safely separated becomes almost impossible. Then there are the external hurdles. Detainees frequently require transfers for court appearances or specialty medical appointments that the jail cannot provide in-house. In Colorado, these transfers often require traversing vast distances. Transporting a detainee means navigating treacherous mountain passes and extreme weather conditions, adding physical risk to a routine logistical task. Every time a vehicle leaves for a long-distance transport, it pulls an active officer off the facility floor. This instantly feeds right back into the core staffing shortage, leaving the jail even more exposed. Colorado's topography functions as an active antagonist. It multiplies the cost and risk of every operational duty. Eventually, the compounding pressures intersect. When severe understaffing, aging architecture, and acute medical needs collide on the exact same shift, the facility reaches its breaking point, and fatal errors occur. The immediate fallout of an in-custody death or a denial of care is severe. It triggers intense public controversy, invites federal scrutiny, and results in major negligence lawsuits. This reveals the paradox of the county budget. A local government might try to save money in the short term by leaving positions unfilled or delaying maintenance, but those decisions fuel the conditions that lead to massive, multi-million-dollar litigation payouts later on. Failing to fund these facilities ruins the county budget and represents a collapse of the constitutional rights owed to people who have not been convicted of a crime. Fixing this requires a shift in perspective. Managing a local lockup can no longer be treated as an isolated, day-to-day operational chore left entirely to the sheriff's office. Counties have to implement proactive solutions, funding integrated data and technology upgrades, and building deep community healthcare partnerships to treat people before crisis hits. A jail is a single node within a much broader public health and safety network. Recognizing that fundamental connection and aggressively funding it accordingly is the only truly sustainable way to break the crisis loop.